This Week in Startups is brought to you by Capterra. Find the software that will help you do what you do better. Join the millions of people who use Capterra every month. To start your search today, visit capterra.com/twist. And Squarespace. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code TWIST at checkout to get 10% off.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. We do the show twice a week, 100 times a year. And on one episode, we typically interview a founder of a company that's starting to break out or is considered promising in our industry, Silicon Valley companies typically. And on the other episode, we typically do the news roundtable, where we talk about the news of the day. The episode you're tuning into today will feature a founder from France who moved her company of 17 to Silicon Valley, has thousands of customers for her awesome enterprise product, which I'm now using. I'm a paying customer of it. And she went to Y Combinator, raised a bunch of money, over $10 million in 4 rounds from some of the most famous investors in the industry, including Dave Morin from Slow Ventures and Alexis from Reddit. Who else that I know on this list? Stuart Butterfield from Slack, Softtech VC, Y Combinator, obviously, and Social Capital, our friends over there. The company's been doing great, 45 employees now, and they are growing at over 10% month over month, according to reports. My guest today is Mathilde Collin. I got Mathilde right.
Yeah.
Not Matilda, Mathilde.
Yeah, Mathilde. And it's hard, but...
The D is hard, or it's hard to pronounce?
It's hard to pronounce.
Mathilde, I nailed it.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I got it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get it right. It happens once in a while. And your company is called Front.
Yes.
And people can go visit it right now at Front App. So that's FRONTAPP.com. If you're driving and listening to the podcast, please do not do it. Unless you have a self-driving Tesla, in which case still don't do it. You still have to be ready to take over at any time. Unless you're listening to this 5 years from now when Front has gone public, and Teslas are fully level 5 certified, then by all means, you can go to their website or virtual reality offering. So welcome to the program, Mathilde. And maybe you could tell us, what is Front and why did you build it?
Sure. Thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure.
So Front is an inbox for teams. So it brings together all your communication channels, so all your emails, all your SMS, tweets, Facebook messages, live chats. And once they're in Front, your team can collaborate as a team, and they can integrate Front with any software that they're using. So for example, a CRM, a database, Slack, Stripe, anything. So they are more proactive at work using this software.
Can you show us how it works?
Sure.
And I know some really big companies using it. Tesla, Cisco, Dropbox, Obama, the French President Macron.
Yeah, Macron.
Yeah,
even harder than Mathilde to pronounce.
Macron. People love him, huh?
They went from loving him to not liking him so much right now.
They don't like him now?
No.
Why? What happened?
So French people complain all the time, so they're not happy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the kind of a French thing, is to be not happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that culturally? Why are the French not happy people?
So, I don't know. I think if I had to guess, when you get to school, I think you learn to criticize a lot. And so that's what I found. So you learn, like anytime you're working on something, you have to work on why this is true, why this could be wrong. It's also, I think your mind is scheduled to be criticizing all the time.
That's interesting.
And that's one of the reasons why I moved here. And I love France and I'll live there one day. But I think when you start a company, you don't need people to criticize your product all the time because you know that it's not good. And you know that you'll have a hard time and you know that Google could build it. But you still have to believe in it and have people believe in you.
Yeah, I've heard this from other entrepreneurs. Louis Lemeux is famous for leaving, and he had the same kind of general impression, which was, in France, if you're an entrepreneur, people don't look at you the same way they do here in the Valley. What is the perception of entrepreneurs, and what has been your reception in Paris versus the Bay Area?
Sure. So I think there are two different things. One is how people perceive you as an entrepreneur and how they perceive your company. So first of all, So you have this crazy idea, and it's necessarily a crazy idea because if it was obvious, someone would have built it. And so instead of telling you, oh, this could be amazing, they're like, if it was a good idea, someone would have built it. So I think you as a founder is always seen as someone a little bit crazy, because why are you building this whereas you could have a job and be paid a lot of money? But that's fine. I think as soon as you believe in what you're doing, I could stay in France and have people think I'm crazy. But I think when you're doing an enterprise software and you need to sell it, the hard part is companies don't want to take risk and use a product that's so young. And one of the reason I think for that is in the US, when you look at big companies, they were small not so long ago. So they have a lot of empathy for you. And so they believe that you could be like a growing company. They see the benefits of being a small company. You can build fast, etc. But in France, it's like you just see the risk that you take. And we're doing a tool in the communication space. So emails for people are critical to their business. So if they start using our product and for some reason we go out of business or we're bought by a company, then they don't want to take the risk.
Yeah, that's too risky.
So I think those are the two things that make it different. At the end of the day, I chose to be here just because I was happier here, not because like more customers were here or more investment was possible.
We're happier.
Yeah.
The state of California than France.
Exactly, because I think when like candidates, investors, potential customers are trying to see what's exciting about your business and are telling you, I love that or that, I think it's like you're more likely to be happy than either telling you, oh, but wait, why is that? And wait, well, so yeah.
So your overall happiness as an entrepreneur goes higher.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, most days are challenging and difficult, and you have struggles and problems to solve.
Yeah.
So to layer onto it a level of just general doubt and negativity is not helpful.
It's not helpful. And I think, it's not helpful. And I think it can really make a huge difference to experience how positive people are here.
Also, it just seems also in Europe, and I don't know if this plays into entrepreneurship, but the current climate, protectionist that we're now experiencing here, but the protectionist climate there and the terrorism, is that shaking people on a business sense as well? Do you think it's limiting the opportunity that people think, if I'm in France or I'm in Spain or the UK, the chances of terrorism and other things just are generally high?
I don't think so. I don't think it impacts. I think it impacts everyone's moral, but not entrepreneurs more than anyone else. But yeah, I think what has happened in the US, I think the country is happening in France where people want to open the borders and have more and more people come and more visa to be issued, and great entrepreneurs should now come to France. So I think on that front, I think the situation in France is getting better. And the funding situation overall is getting better as well. So I think it's better to be an entrepreneur starting a company in France now than 4 years ago when I was starting front.
It's interesting. So even though there is a nationalistic pride and a movement to close the borders, the vote this time swung towards open borders in the face of a lot of terrorist activity. It's incredibly brave, in a way, for the French people.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, they're careful about who they open the borders to.
Right.
And I think the new president has put a lot of emphasis on like creating new businesses and make sure that entrepreneurs could fly to France, have visa, and start their company, get funding, etc.
This is a really savvy move by a lot of different... It's an interesting topic, too, because the United States becomes protectionist and we don't allow people like yourself into the country, which if you were trying to make this move or move 17 employees here, in 2018...
That would have been impossible.
Yeah, 2017, 2018, it would have been hard.
Yeah.
Or impossible.
Yeah, super hard.
Super hard. So we would have lost you to either staying in France or moving to Canada or any number of places around the world.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a global competition now.
Even 4 years ago, it was 3 years ago, it was actually hard.
How do you go about, this is a really interesting question for people who are thinking about relocating, how do you go about getting 17 people in your company to move, both in terms of, take me to the morning, you told everybody at the office, by the way, vive la France, but we're going to America, and two, how do you actually do that with visas and how much does that cost and how do you do it?
Yeah.
Take me to that morning or coffee where you tell everybody I've made the decision.
Sure. So what happened is when I started Front, I had never been outside Europe. So I had never traveled. So like when I started Front, I had no idea I would move here. So I didn't tell the team, you're joining and you'll live in San Francisco one day. It was like, we're in Paris and I'm very happy to be in Paris. What happened is our first customers were here. And so one day I flew here. I flew here just for 10 days, just myself. And in 10 days, I made more progress than in 3 months in France. And so that's the energy that I was telling you about. I just felt like I could meet with potential partners, potential investors, potential customers, potential employees far more quickly. And I could get far more out of it than when I was in France. So I stayed 10 days. And when I was there, I heard of Y Combinator, and I had never heard of Y Combinator before.
Wow.
But it was when people were starting to apply to the next batch of Y Combinator. And so everyone was telling me, oh, you should apply to YC, blah, blah. So I flew back because I have a co-founder, so I needed to do my application with him. And I told him, you know what, I have this feeling that we should move to the US, but I think it's too big of a deal. Like our employees have kids and I can't tell them just move. We don't have any revenues, any customers, but just move, believe me. So let's try to go to YC for 3 months and people will see how it's like to be in the Silicon Valley. And then if we think that it's the right move, then after YC, let's move. So first of all, the announcement to the team was we're going to YC. So it was still hard because some of our employees had 3 kids, for example. Our first employee had 3 kids. So he had to tell his wife, oh, I just took this new job and you know what? I'm not paid as much as I was before, but also I'm leaving for 3 months and it's the summer holidays, but I won't be here. So I'm super grateful that our employees did that. And so we went there 3 months, YC, super intense, but overall went really well for us. So at the end of YC, we raised money. And at the end of YC, everyone was agreeing that it was better for the company to be in the US. However, moving people was, at that time we had no visa. So I stayed in the US with like a B1 visa where I'm not allowed to be paid. It's just I can do business, but that's all.
Yeah.
And the whole team went back to France. And then we had to sponsor 1 visa at a time. So it took a year and a half to move everyone. So it would be like 1 visa and then you come, another one. Okay, who's next, etc.
Is that legally how it works or that's just the way you had to do it because it was so much effort?
I think it's like legally it's not, it's how on average it works.
Yeah.
It's hard to do 17 visa at a time.
Right.
So you have to prove that every employee is key.
Unique and critical.
And so it's hard to say, this set of 17 employees is very key. So.
Yeah, at once. The entire circus is coming, and we need every single performer to come in.
Exactly.
All right. When we get back from this quick break, I want to demo the product. We'll let everybody see frontapp.com and see the power of it. We've been using it at inside.com, and I'll talk about our use of it and why we love it so much when we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey everybody, let me tell you about an amazing website that I love and use regularly. It's called Capterra. Capterra, Capterra. I always feel like it's a good idea to spell it because you might be listening, you're driving, you're running. You need to know Capterra.com. It is a website where you can find software that your business needs. You ever have this? God, I need a new piece of software. I need some mail server software. I want to get a better price on my mail server. I need a website, or I need CRM, or I need sales software. You know, you always need some software, and you know what? There's so many different applications out there today in so many different categories that wouldn't it be nice if there was a website that could help you sort through it, like Yelp, but for software, for business software. Well, that's Capterra. Thousands of ratings and reviews from actual software users, and it's such an easy-to-use website. They have 400 categories of software to choose from, over 400. And whether you need help with website building or customer service, project management, maybe you want to track applications or figure out your email marketing, millions of people use Capterra every month, and using Capterra is absolutely free for users. There's no obligation. You don't need to register. It's a free resource that will help you make the right software decisions. And we all know, if you make a wrong decision about your software, what's going to happen? You spend all this time, all this money, and you have everybody trained up, and then you made the wrong decision. You got to rip it out, start over. Everybody's got to get trained again, new user handles, all this kind of nonsense. You want to get it right on the first try. Go to capterra.com/twist, capterra.com/twist, TERRA.com/twist. Find the software that will help you do what you do better. That's all they want to do at Capterra. They want to make you more successful. So go ahead and visit capterra.com/twist. Thanks again to our friends over at Capterra for making a great website and a great directory that's super helpful, and for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. We truly appreciate it. Hey everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jason. If you say hello to me on Twitter, I will fist bump you by favoriting or hearting your tweet. And go ahead and buy my book, angelthebook.com. And you can tune in to our latest podcast. We have another podcast that we just started. It's going to be maybe 20 episodes a year, 10 episodes a season, maybe 30 episodes, and it's called Angel. And you can go to angelpodcast.com or just search Angel Podcast on the old iTunes or Spotify, and hopefully you find us in some of those places. We've done about 4 or 5 episodes, and we just talk to angel investors about how they make their decision. And in the book, we talk about how you can become an angel investor or how you can get angel investing for your startup. My guest today on This Week in Startups is Mathilde Collin. Mathilde Collin. I got it right.
You got it right.
Oh, thank God.
Twice.
Magnifique, huh?
Magnifique.
Très magnifique. We got to talk about, maybe afterwards, we got to talk about some French food and some spots in France.
Sure, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I'm big into French food. Actually, I have a really good place here that I'll tell you about afterwards. That's in Pack Heights, okay. Gamine.
Oh yeah, I would have said, if you had asked me what's my favorite French place here, I would have said Gamine.
You would have?
Yeah.
Oh God, Gamine has the best escargot.
Yeah.
And what do you call the small sausage? Meringue. The small sausage with the mustard sausages, you know those merguez.
Yeah, the spicy ones.
The spicy sausages.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're great.
I would take my daughter there. She would eat 2 orders of escargot. I was never so proud of her. When she would eat 2 orders of escargot, I was like, wow, my 5-year-old is eating escargot.
Yeah, they're great there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Mathilde is the co-founder and CEO of Front App. Go check out frontapp.com. And so let's take a look at the product here.
Sure.
Take us through a scenario.
So happy to show you the product. So
and remember, most people are listening, so you got to walk them through it like sportscast it. So.
Of course,
yeah,
I'll do that. Yeah. So basically, with Front, you can have all your communication in one place. So you have, for example, text messages that arrive in Front. So here, if you would text this number here, the message would arrive in Front. You can have your tweets. So for example, yesterday we had an issue with the app, and so any person that would mention Front or DM us would create a new conversation in Front, so everyone can see it.
So even on Twitter, if somebody just mentions your @ handle,
yeah.
So I could put @Jason in there, @Inside in there, @Launch in there, and if people mention it,
yes,
then I can assign it to someone on the team to take care of.
Exactly. So it works with mentions, DMs, and also searches. So if you just want to find every tweet where someone says inside.com, then it can create a new conversation.
Fantastic.
Same thing for Facebook. So if you have a Facebook page and you receive messages, you can receive them in Front. Here, for example, we have a Google Play Store integration. So people make reviews and you want to assign them to someone because they're reporting a bug. You can do that. And of course, emails. So for example, here, if I go in the support inbox, I have all the people reporting issues on support@frontapp.com. So first of all, every person in your team can have access to all these communication channels in one place. Once you get a new message, you can assign it to the right person in your team. So for example, I can assign it to myself or to our product manager or to our customer success manager, which is great because it makes people accountable and you make sure that everyone gets a reply.
You don't lose anything. Nothing slips through the cracks. Because
exactly.
I constantly have a conversation with like a Fitbit on Twitter
yeah.
or another company, Tesla, on email.
Yeah.
And you wonder how in the background are they keeping track of all these different messages coming in.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, in Tesla's case, they're using Front.
They're using Front. Yeah. And yeah, the biggest promise that we make to our customers is nothing will fall through the cracks.
It's a good tagline.
Yeah. So one of the things that you can do is also collaborate behind the scenes within your team. So most of the time, you don't need to only reply, but you also need to talk internally about an issue that's been going on. So here you can have internal comments. So I'll just, you can mention people. Mm-hmm. And so for example, I'll mention can someone help And so here you can see it's an internal conversation. So the person that initially emailed me will not see those internal conversations. But
which is always a risk when you're doing it on email or things. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen these customer support things where they change the name of the person to like, you know, like at Friendly's or TGI Fridays, they're like, yeah, this person is the fat beep, and they use some derogatory term. Like, this is the fat bastard at table 17.
Exactly. So now you have email comments and so internal comments. And so you can see that Kaylin here is chatting with me in real time. And so he is even asking if he should draft a reply for me. Yes, sure. Please draft a reply for me, and then we can collaborate on the draft, and then I can send it. So everything is in real time, so you can see here that he's replying, and so I see that he's replying. So one mistake that companies do often is they reply twice to the same message because they didn't know that someone was replying.
That makes you look really dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes it look like you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's a really bad look for a company.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like, oh my God, they're really on top of their support if two people contact me. But if it's already been resolved, it's like, I already resolved this. I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the main feeling that people get is it's messy in this company. I don't know if...
chaos, right. Exactly. They care, but it's chaotic.
Yeah. And so here, Evan, who is our support engineer, is actually checking, which is great because he doesn't know that I'm doing a demo right now. And
wow,
I used
this is awesome.
Our instance of Front.
So I'm actually seeing Front support Front customers live on a podcast.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
So that's good.
Well, I hope they don't say something derogatory like this client is a pain in the ass. We should fire them.
I didn't tell them actually, so I should have told them.
That'd be great if they were like, this client needs to be fired. All they do is complain. I don't know why we have inside.com as a client. All they do is take up our time.
Our biggest value at Front is transparency anyway, so I would be happy with that. Anyway, so you can edit drafts and then you can use a template of answer so that you don't need to type over and over the same thing. So for example, here I could just click here. I could say, this is a question about security. I will just add it in one click. And then once it's done, I can just archive the conversation.
So you can have like basically keyboard shortcuts in a way. Like you can put in the canned responses that come up most often.
Yeah. So for example, talking about French restaurants, a lot of people are telling me, I'm visiting Paris. Where should I go? So I just have a canned response saying, here are all the places that I like in Paris.
I use a type expander on my desktop to do all of these because I get so many from founders. In fact, you emailed me. Tragically, you emailed me before Y Combinator and I missed meeting with you.
I remember.
I know. I'm such an idiot. It's really like the real great disaster of my life, which is as you get popular as an investor, so much is coming in that it's very hard to respond to everything. So I miss sometimes, I got to use Front App for this kind of stuff, where I can just assign all of the stuff to people in the organization so I don't miss a great founder.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I had made that investment, it probably would have been like a $3 or $4 million company, and now it's like a $100 million company.
Yeah, more than that.
It's like a 20x mistake right now.
Yeah.
Is that about right? 20x mistake?
More than that, I think.
30x mistake.
I want you to feel good.
Just for people who are at home understanding this, that's like if I put 50K in or 100K in, let's say, I would have been at $3 million in value right now. It's $2.9 million loss just for not responding to an email.
Yeah.
I'm such an idiot.
But you get to chat with me today, so maybe it's worth $10 million.
It is, actually, I feel like I'm closing the gap on that lost $2.9 million, and then the other tragedy is I think you're going 10x from here. That's the big problem.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think this is a rocket ship. I got to figure out how to get
in there.
I got to get on this rocket ship. Okay, keep going.
Great, perfect. So one of the things that I said initially is Front is also integrating with any tool that you're using. So let's say, for example, someone is reporting a bug and you're using GitHub to manage your bugs. So from here, you can just directly create a GitHub issue or a Trello card or a Jira issue or an Asana task. And so then what happens is when someone is in GitHub working on the issue, they can see the history of conversations and so they have context. And then you can create workflows around it. For example, you can say if an issue is closed in GitHub, then reopen all the conversation in Front, and that way you get back to all your customers saying the issue is fixed. And it's a great customer experience.
Fantastic.
For example, if you use Slack and you have this email and you really want to send it to Slack, you can just click here and just choose a room and just send something. So everything is integrated. If you use Salesforce, you can see if this person is a customer, how much they're paying, what are the opportunities associated to them, etc. So that way, information is not siloed. You always have context and you deliver the best customer experience.
When we get back from this final break, I want to talk to you about the two elephants in the room.
Okay.
The first is,
Yeah.
this feels a lot like a structured Slack, and Slack has a lot of these features that take a little work to set up. So I want to know how you compete with Slack, because it feels like they're starting to go into your territory, and you're certainly in their territory, and you would certainly be taking a large amount of work out of theirs. And also, how you relate to Zendesk. Are you something that's directly competitive with them? It feels like that. So that's one, is the competitive landscape when we get back. And then number two, I've been pitched on a number of AI startups right now that are looking to take customer support and just AI the hell out of it. So I want to talk about what your thoughts are on machine learning and AI vis-a-vis, if all of these reports are coming in of problems, et cetera, shouldn't this all be done by a robot when we get back on This Week in Startups? Hey everybody, let me take a moment to tell you about the awesome Squarespace. I use Squarespace all the time. I think I've created a half dozen websites this year alone. Launch Angel Summit, Founder.University, Angel.University. Every one of our websites we put onto Squarespace here at launch, and we love it. It costs us $10, $20 a month to have an amazing, gorgeous website, and they will even give you a free domain name if you start up for a year. So start your free trial today. No credit card is required. You get a free domain name if you sign up for a year. And if you decide to sign up for Squarespace after the trial, use the promo code TWIST and you will get 10% off your first purchase. You will have a professionally designed website. You can pick from all these amazing, beautiful templates, and it works everywhere, on mobile, on your desktop, on a wide monitor, on a small monitor, on an iPad, on an iPhone, Android. It doesn't matter what you're using. It will look beautiful. State-of-the-art tech, secure and stable. It can withstand massive amounts of traffic when you go viral, and it's trusted by millions, including some of the most respected brands in the world. I am a huge fan of Squarespace. Thank you to Squarespace, and make sure you use that promo code TWIST. So we do it with our in-house creative and our content staff, not by hiring expensive developers. Thanks to my friends at Squarespace. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest today, Mathilde Collin. You can follow her, Collin Mathilde, with an E at the end, on the Twitter. And you can follow Front App on Twitter. And you can go to frontapp.com. The show is twice a week. You can follow us, TWI Startups, on Twitter and TWI Startups on the Instagram. And you can sign up for our weekly email at thisweekinstartups.com to get behind-the-scenes footage, information, tips, tricks, and all that other stuff. Our next event is Launch Scale. Go to launchscale.net. That's an event where 30 speakers talk about growing, scaling your company, getting more traction so you can get more investment and customers. Or vice versa, you get more customers, you get more investment. It's nothing better than having customers and to get investment.
Sure.
It's a lot easier when you have customers.
It is.
And revenue.
It is.
When you pre-revenue, pre-customers.
Then Jason doesn't want to have a meeting with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what people have to realize. It's like you really have to take the time to meet with people pre-traction and give them some of your time.
Yeah.
So apologies. God, you're really sticking it to me. You're going to make me suffer. It's good. I deserve it.
It's fine.
All right. So when I left you, I wanted to talk about competitive landscape and the impact of machine learning and AI on customer support teams, because it seems to me like there's going to be no more customer support. It's all going to be machine learning and AI based, with some group of people watching the computers respond.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I wrong? Take whichever question you want first.
Let's take the competitors first.
Okay. So
Slack and Zendesk. So Slack is interesting. First of all, Stuart Butterfield, the CEO of Slack, is an investor in our company, and Social Capital, who's our Series A investor, is also the Series A investor of Slack. So if we were super competitive, I think none of these investments would have happened. I think the way I look at Slack is great. So easy way to describe it, Slack is great for internal communication and Front is great for external communication. So you want to chat with someone in your team, you'll use Slack. You want to chat with someone outside of your company, customers, candidates, leads, partners, etc., then you'll use Front. So that means that Slack is the only tool that you use, and other people use Slack because they're in your company, so you can ask them to use Slack, versus for people outside your company, you have to use existing communication channels. So email, SMS, Twitter, Facebook. And so Front gathers all these channels in one place, and then you can easily talk to them. I think a better way to describe it than internal and external, because Slack goes in the external communication space and we go in the internal communication space, is Slack is for synchronous communication and Front is for asynchronous communication. So
Explain to people who don't know what that means.
So I think
what that means.
So synchronous means I want to go and have lunch with you, and so I'll use Slack and I'll say, "Do you want to have lunch with me?" And I expect a reply right away. Then Slack is great. But if I want to
go back and forth like a ping pong.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking
in
real time.
Exactly. Now, if I want to ask you, like, what holidays are you planning on having for, I don't know, Christmas, then I don't think Slack is great, because then, like, you have to reply right away, and so it's a distraction for you. So I think it's asynchronous. So you should have time to
Like
think
email.
about exactly.
So you can go clear out your email box, get 20 or 30 messages while you're at the gym, and then just go sit down and pound through them.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's asynchronous.
You can snooze them, you can put them in a folder, you can deal with them later, and that's asynchronous. And I think Front is great for asynchronous communications. And I don't think that a tool like Slack, can handle asynchronous communication just because of the way it's been built. And so everyone has seen Slack, and everyone is bothered when they have like a lot of unread notification. And the reason they're bothered with it is because they don't know how to deal with them, and they feel like they need to read everything right now or they will miss it. And with Front, it's really different.
Yeah.
So I think there is a great world where Slack and Front exist and really change how people work, but one is focusing on real-time communication with your employees, and the other one is the rest of your communication.
The only aside I would put to that, or the counter argument, would be two things. One, I think a lot of times VC firms get a sense that there's something going on in an area, and they like to double down.
Yeah.
So Uber was invested in by Google Ventures, but they still have their own self-driving. So sometimes they try to do that because it's in the same space. But so that would answer my social capital one. But I think Slack has all of their third-party tools, and some of the popular third-party tools and APIs are to do Front-like behaviors and connect this glue together. So it's almost like you're a vertical app that's just been super refined.
Yeah.
Like you will become some percentage, when you install Front at an organization, some percentage of the communications on Slack moves over.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of organization, I guess.
But I think even for like a given integration, so let's take Stripe, for example, the way Stripe integrates with Slack is different from the way Stripe integrates with Front.
How so?
Because in Slack, what you want to know is you want to get access to the information. So Slack makes information less siloed by making people aware that a customer just paid or that a bug has been filed or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas in Front, you have a Stripe integration because someone is asking for a refund and you can directly refund this person from Stripe, or you can directly create a bug. And so I think there is a different notion where in Slack you see the information, whereas in Front you get work done. I'm biased.
I think it's exactly correct. And this is one of the things I think for entrepreneurs to realize. There's two ways to attack a space. One, you can build a platform like Slack did and let the developer community start plugging different things into the API, or you can take what you think is the best use case and just absolutely crush it like you have.
Yeah, but at the same time, we also have this community of partners. So we not as big as Slack, but we already have more than 30 companies that have built integrations with Front, whereas we're far smaller than Slack. But it's also, we have an open API where people can build on top of it. And so it's part also of our vision to make sure that email and SMS, etc. can be integrated with any tool that you're using.
I think this makes people so much more efficient and companies so much more efficient. I wonder, have you thought about selling or combining Front app with an actual customer support humans? And then let's segue with that into AI.
Yeah.
Because I do think that people are the people who are your customers probably fall into one of two buckets. One, they're using an antiquated solution, or two, they use no solution at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Which one do you see more?
They use no solution at all.
Which one are the antiquated solutions that when you show this to organizations, they go, we're kicking this out and we're putting Front in? Who do you displace most often?
So most often it's Gmail, Outlook. But
that's not displacing. That's like, those are people who don't have a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
What about
Otherwise,
solutions?
it's help desk solutions. So Freshdesk, Zendesk, Desk, etc.
Yeah.
And the reason why people would switch from one to the other is because they want a tool that's more flexible. So all the integration that we have, they want something more human. So they don't want your ticket number 1, 2, 3 reply above this line, hashtag, etc., which tickets introduce. And then they want the multi-channel, so everything in one place.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about AI and machine learning.
Sure.
Have you started to explore this, or is it too early?
So we've started to explore this, but there are 2 ways we explore this. One is integrating with bots, so that their core business is to be smart. And so for example, there is a company called Meya.ai. We have a lot of customers that will plug into their API.
What's the name of that company again?
Meya, MEUAI.
Meya. Terrible name.
Terrible name because I can't spell it. So.
If you can't remember it and spell it, you've not done your job.
Yeah.
Front app.
And then
FRONT. Front app. Inside. INSIDE. Easy to say over the phone. Hard consonants.
Meya. But anyway, so these bots, you can enable them as an integration, and then what they will do is analyze the context of the message that you receive and then draft a reply for you. So by integrating, that's what we should do ultimately, but it's very hard to focus like a lot of resources into it when you're so small. So right now what we're doing is making sure that we can give the content of the messages of our customers to a third-party software that can then handle them and automate the replies.
Perfect.
So that's one thing that we do. But on the other hand, we'll also...
So if people keep asking the same question, like, how do I pair it with my Bluetooth, and my Bluetooth keeps dropping, and the 2 most common responses are update your firmware, or 2, reboot your, delete the Bluetooth speaker from your thing and reconnect it. It will give them those 2 answers, or give them 1 answer, have them reply it didn't work, and then give them the other answer.
Exactly. And what we've seen is, especially for SMS, where like SMS is a growing channel for customer support today.
It is.
And automation is even easier because the messages are shorter. And so it's always easier to give...
More concise.
Exactly.
Less words.
Exactly. So we've seen that as a trend, and we definitely have more and more customers that integrate with bots in order to automate the replies for the simple questions. The other thing that we're doing is, in front you can tag conversations so that you can know what are the trending requests. So for example, the way Tesla use Front is anytime they launch a new product, either a new product or an existing product in a new country, they will create one inbox. And so every beta tester will send their feedback in this inbox. And then they tag every incoming feedback, and they can have analytics on what are the most requested things. That's manual today. So you can automate it in very basic ways, like if it contains that word, then tag it that way. But one of the things that we're working on is, could we automate the tagging of conversations? Because then it will make things easier. So one, you know what are the trending requests. And 2, if you want to automate replies at a point, then it's easier because you've already categorized them. So that's also something that we're working on. Now, my dream with Front, so I use Front to manage all my external communication. So every single email is arriving in Front. And
oh, really? You use it as an individual CEO to manage everything?
Yeah. And we have actually 37% of our DAUs that use Front as a full replacement for their email system. So all the features that you've seen where you can assign, comment, have drafts that are shared, etc., that can be applied for shared email addresses, but also individual email addresses. And I'm super excited about this opportunity, not just being on the shared email space. That's why I was saying that Gmail was actually something that we were replacing. And so my dream now that I manage all my emails in Front is to have every single email drafted for me.
Amazing. Like the new Gmail does. They have those quick replies at the bottom. Which is, they're surprisingly good. I think I use them 2 out of 3 times.
No, they're good.
I start with them.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like, sure, that sounds great, or thanks for the update. So I just click, thanks for the update, and then I will say some more to the founder. But it's so delightful to start with 3 or 4 words.
I agree. And that would be, I think, something that would make every knowledge worker 10 times more efficient, because if you capture not only like the shared inboxes, but also every communication that's happening on their inbox, then you're capturing where they spend maybe 6 hours per day at work. And so that's an opportunity to make them much, much more proactive.
Yeah.
And then they can spend time with their family.
Or they can just work more and become more rich.
Depending on what
Hey, that was a question I had back to the, and by the way, the product's amazing. We've been using it at inside.com. I'll just give a quick plug here. We have this new product called Essential Alerts, in which we're using Twilio to send people like, if it was for general news, North Korea just launched another missile. Like when some major breaking news happens, or today, I think Putin said he's going to embrace Bitcoin.
Yeah.
On the same day that China said they're banning Bitcoin and ICO. So it's a crazy day for cryptocurrency. It's like on one side, the price of Bitcoin goes down 10%. The other side goes up 20. I don't know where it winds up, but we started sending these alerts, and then we just told people hit reply, and then we put it into front.
Yeah.
So now we have all these replies coming, and then we told people, hey, if you go to inside.com/alerts, when you get that Bitcoin, you could ask us a question back, and our team will reply. It's just an experiment.
Yeah. I've been using it.
And you've been using it, and you've replied, and now we're getting it's really interesting because the people who choose to get those are the top 10% of our audience, who are already the top 10% of any audience in that vertical. In other words, this is like a 1%er in terms of knowledge and influence. Only a 1% of the 1% would want to get Bitcoin or software venture capital updates in their SMS. It's a very intrusive, intimate thing to get an SMS, I think.
Yeah.
So we've been using it. Now we can assign, Jason's going to respond to this one, Austin's going to respond to this one, the Bitcoin team will respond to this one. It's very interesting to have these SMS threads going with people. Because you know what the open rate of SMS is?
90%.
100. Did you ever not open an SMS without looking at it?
So.
It's never happened.
No, now my Lyft notifications and my Uber.
Oh, do you get those in SMS?
Yeah.
Why would you get them in SMS?
I don't know, babe. I don't know. You don't?
No, I get them. I use the app updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too many for SMS.
Yeah.
So many Ubers.
But
anyway, I just think it's pretty amazing. But I want to ask you another question about France. We hear the work ethic is different. That here people work this tremendous number of hours, and then in France it's people are much more lifestyle based. Is that generally true? And is it also true of French startups? In other words, if somebody was working at a French startup and you hired somebody, would they work 40 hours a week versus 50 hours a week here? Do you see a difference in work ethic and life-work balance between the two communities?
So actually, I see the difference in the opposite way.
Really?
Yeah. So even if you're right, there are some crazy laws in France that make everyone get to work 35 hours a week, and that's what the cliche is in France. People,
it is a law.
Yeah, exactly. But then there are ways to not apply.
Right.
And I think
What is that? It doesn't apply if you're an entrepreneur, or if you have stock options, if you're an owner?
Yeah, or if you're like a leader of a team or whatever.
Got it. So if you're a senior person.
Yeah, exactly. So then you make a contract that makes sure that, or you can pay for additional hours, and then the initial salary is lower. So then at the end of the day, so one of the main difference is people in France work crazy hours, but then they take crazy vacation. So they will work from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like that would be like a normal day, but then they're super tired, and so they need 4 weeks of vacation. So like before the summer, I was texting with my friends in France, and they would say, I'm just starting my vacation. And I was like, oh, cool. How long? 4.5 weeks. And I was like, whoa, I could never do that here.
No.
And so here...
People would think like you quit.
Exactly. Yeah.
They would send a search party.
Sabbatical.
Yeah.
But here, I think they do the contrary. So they work less crazy hours. And so at the end of the day, they can do other things.
Yeah.
But then they will take 4 days of vacation versus 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is a good way or a bad way. I think for small companies, this way, where you take 4 days of vacation and you work less during the day, is better. Because if someone was to leave for 4 weeks, I think I would be in trouble.
It's like, how do we keep moving the company forward versus competitors?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But so I don't think there is a good way or a bad way. But I think I personally prefer having a good work-life balance throughout the year and having less vacation.
What are going to be the primary channels, let's say for millennials and for this new generation? What would you say are the top three channels in order of utilization. We know for Gen Xers, it's going to be email. We know for baby boomers, it's going to be phone. They like to pick up the phone, or traditionally. Gen Xers like to use email. But for millennials, I hear this talk of like they're going to want to use Snapchat or SMS to be their primary communication channel. Is that actually true, or do they wind up embracing email? What do you think the primary channels are going to be in 5 years, 10 years?
So I would make a big difference between personal communication and work communication.
Yes,
so
let's talk about work, yeah.
Yeah, I do think that email for personal communication is dead. Like,
really?
Yeah, I do think that, like, when I look at my little cousins, no one has an email address until they apply to their first internship and they have an email address now.
Right.
So I think those are very different. I think at work, I don't believe that email is dead. I'm convinced, and otherwise I would not work on front, I'm convinced that it's the best way to communicate with anyone. And I think the protocol is great, but I think the interfaces are not great. No. So when you think of the last innovation in the email space, it's funny to look at Gmail like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same interface as now. And I think there are very few tools in the business space that have not evolved in the past 10 years. Very few. And email is one of the only ones. So the interface is not great. But the protocol, if you had to think about like a new protocol to communicate, I think you would come up with the email protocol. So I think it's great. And I think with a new interface that's more real time, which people like, because you can see that they use things like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, etc. And that's adapted to team collaboration and the fact that now you use multiple tools, so everything needs to be integrated. I do think that email will remain.
Is Twitter is that an important channel for people, or it's just like a niche thing in Silicon Valley, we use it and not in many other places?
No, I don't think it's a niche. It's a real thing. I don't see it as a growing thing, which would be different from SMS, for example, where like when we launched the SMS integration in front, at the beginning, not a lot of people were using it, and then they realized that it can be a better customer experience, and so then they use SMS more and more. And thanks to Twilio and other services, it becomes easier.
So 45 people now?
Yes.
Raised a bunch of money. What do you have to do next as a founder? What's the next year or two look like for you?
Few things. First, I need to keep my team happy. So I feel like that's my biggest responsibility. Like the reason I'm happy to build this company is because I hope that everyone is coming to work and is happy to work. The second thing is we need to
Why is that so important to you? Why is that number one, keeping them happy and not keeping your customers happy or keeping the money coming in or raising more money? Why is company happiness so important?
Because when I started, the first reason why I wanted to start a company is in my family, no one liked their job. And that made me unhappy to think that I would grow up and not enjoy my life for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so one of the initial reason why I wanted to start a company was because I thought that people deserved enjoying 8 hours a day and 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so that was super important to me. And then, so I wanted to create a great place to work and also work on a product that would improve how people work. That's what I'm passionate about.
It's great. I mean, my friend Tony Hsieh also had his shared passion, delivering happiness, his book, and he really put that into customer support. And how do you make people happy at work? What is the most effective techniques that you find? Money, perks, attention, challenges. What seems to be the sweet spot for you in terms of making people happy at work?
So from what I've seen, it's transparency. So I believe that people are happy when they're engaged and when they know why they're doing what they're doing. And I feel like the best way to achieve that, especially, and it's easier when you're a small company and more challenging when you grow, but you should keep doing it, is to share everything. So to share like why people are happy to use your product and unhappy to use your product, why are investors excited about your product and not excited about your product, what's your runway, what is your NPS, what is your churn, what is your monthly growth, and we share everything at front. And I do believe that there are many reasons why people are happy to come to work, but like if I could give one, I think people are engaged. They really care about front because they know everything about what's going on.
So transparency, being engaged, makes them feel like a leader too. It makes it feel like they're really valued if they're allowed to see all the data.
Yeah, exactly.
All the information.
Yeah. And then I think if the leaders care about people in their team, then you're more likely to have a business where people are happy to come to work. That's what I think. But
It's important that the leaders actually like the people who work for them. If you're not, as one person told me, if you're not rooting for the person who works for you, you have to get them out of there.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to be rooting for them to succeed in their life.
Yeah.
And how many times as managers have we had somebody on our team where just like, I'm really not rooting for this person anymore. I'm super frustrated by them. I'm annoyed by them. I'm perturbed by them.
Yeah, and it's funny how, like, my experience has been, it's always hard to let someone go, but then you realize that people in your company will be affected for 1 week, and if you keep this person, then they will be affected every single day for the coming years where you...
Indefinitely.
And so you shouldn't think about just the moment you let them know that this person has been let go, but just like in 2 years. Will they remember, and will they think it was horrible? I don't think so.
A lot of times also I find when... I would say maybe a third of the time I've let somebody go, it's been like a great relief for them.
Yeah.
Because they weren't enjoying it either. Maybe it's half the time.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the time they're delusional and they think that they can't believe that you don't recognize their genius.
Yeah.
But then it becomes a life lesson. I've had that happen. I've let people go who came back to me 10 years later and said, oh, you let me go, but I really needed to learn that lesson because I was a fuck up.
And one of the things that also I care a lot about when we interview people is, so after I graduated in France, the first job that I took out of college, it was in a startup, and the founder oversold the company so much to me. And so then I joined and I was so disappointed. And that was, I think, not a win-win, it was a lose-lose strategy. And so now when we're interviewing people, we just tell them, like, here's the last board deck, look at the numbers, spend time with the team, use the product, and that way you know everything. And if that's exciting to you, then join. If that's not, then don't join. But I'm not here to oversell anything about this company. And I've found that to be really effective to create like a great culture because it starts with hiring the right people.
All right, let's recap.
Cool.
Number one, Front App is a great new product that I'm using and that everybody should at least try. So go to frontapp.com right now and try it. It's super interesting for teams that are doing support, but also some people are using it to replace their Gmail and just be super hyper efficient. And keep your team happy. Transparency is a great way to do that. The French are very pessimistic, and there's a wet blanket on top of entrepreneurship. Don't oversell. When you got people coming to your company, fire quickly, fire fast. And Jason lost $30 million not investing in this company because he didn't respond to an email, which paradoxically, if I had been using Front, I would have assigned it to somebody on my team, and we would have met for coffee, and I would have got you a noisette, maybe a pain au chocolat, a Queen-Amande.
Or we would have gone to Gamine.
Or Gamine. We would have had the escargot, crème brûlée. Have you had are these Queen-Amandes a thing in France?
So they are, and they're incredible, but they're very different. Like whenever I'm eating a Queen-Amande here, I'm like, this is not a Queen-Amande.
Okay, hold on a sec. This is the most important part of the podcast.
Priority.
It's a priority. Queen-Amandes, for people who don't know, I'm going to describe it, then you tell me what's different about these two.
Okay.
My understanding of a Queen-Amande is it's like a croissant, and they pull the dough up, and in the middle they might put a little chocolate or strawberry or apricot or something, and you eat it, and it's a little bit soft on the inside and a little crunchy on the outside, and they make them here. There's a famous place here that I really love up in Cow Hollow that makes Queen-Amandes. Queen-Amande. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Queen-Amande?
Queen-Amande.
Queen-Amande. One more time.
Queen-Amande.
Queen-Amande.
Almost.
One more time.
Queen-Amande.
Queen-Amande.
Great.
Queen-Amande. So these Queen-Amandes are so delicious. But what's the difference between the ones here and in France? Because they didn't exist here in the United States, by the way, until about 2 or 3 years ago, and then we started getting them here.
So,
and most people listening to this conversation have never heard of them.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the ones here and there?
So a few things. First, like you put something in the middle, which is that doesn't exist in France. You don't put anything in the middle. So the concept of a Queen-Amande is just a croissant, but with far more butter.
Far more butter.
10 times more butter than in a croissant.
Wow.
And so it makes it incredibly good, but also very heavy.
Because butter makes everything better.
Exactly.
Which is the rule in France.
Exactly. Which is the right
When in doubt, it's the right answer. When in doubt, be more transparent and use more butter.
Exactly. And everyone will be happier.
Right. Fire quick, use more butter.
Exactly. So that's, I mean, if one day I go back to France and I come here, I will bring one to you if you want. But it's very different.
Yeah, that's interesting. And they don't put the stuff in the middle.
No, they don't.
Where is the place, Jack? Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie. Where's the place that I always get the Queen of Month from? I forgot the name of it. I'm drawing a blank here. There was a place up in Cow Hollow, up like Pack Heights, that made them here. And they were pretty good. People went crazy for them. When I told people what they were, they didn't. Yeah. Huh, interesting. All right, listen, this has been great. It's great that we finally got to meet 3 years later, and I blew it. But who knows? You may raise money again or never again. Maybe I'll buy the public stock when you go public.
Well,
I'll be able to. Yeah, you never know. Maybe I can get in the next round if there ever is one. That is always a possibility. People don't realize this, but there are some great companies that only raised 2 rounds, and then they just were so profitable. Like Google, my understanding is Google was so profitable, they didn't need to do what Lyft, Airbnb, and all these other companies did. They didn't keep raising money and stay private. They just went public, but they had only done very little dilution.
Yeah.
So.
And that's honestly something that I want to do as much as we can. I think people think that raising money, a lot of, even in the company, raising a Series B is so cool. But the truth is, it's not cool. If you can keep just the money of your Series A, it's even cooler. So that's what, as much as we can, that's what we'll try to do.
If you have a specific if you have a specific thesis of how you would deploy the Series B to grow the company 20x, then by all means. But if it's growing already on the same pace and you don't need money, which it doesn't seem you do, you've raised over 13 million to date from some of the best investors, and you're already, I can tell you're either profitable or you're within spitting distance of being profitable because you have 45 people, which means you're probably spending around $700K a month. You're spending about $5 million a year. No, you're spending 700 a month. You're spending about $8-9 million a year, but you have 2,000 customers and it's $50 a person. And you probably have 5 customers at each, which means you're making already,
a lot of money.
You've got 2,000 paying companies. Is it paying companies?
Yeah.
5 each, that's 10,000 paying customers. You're making $500,000. You're already making $6 million a year, and you're probably spending $9 million. So you're within shooting distance of profitability. If not, you might even be profitable. I don't know. You might have 10 paying customers per customer. I don't know, but you're very close. It's really a good business. It's one of the nice things about enterprise. Did you have a company before this?
No, I was in the
first company.
Before. Yeah, it's my first company.
Oh, well done.
I'm learning everything.
Mathilde, you know what? You read a lot of books or you watch a lot of podcasts or something. You got good mentors because you're talking a lot of sense on this podcast.
Thank you.
Great. Congratulations on the success. And everybody go ahead and try the product that Macron?
Yeah.
Close? You do it.
Macron?
Do I have to or no?
No, no, you don't have to. Macron.
It's hard for us in America. Obama. God, I wish he was still president. Cisco, Tesla, Dropbox, HubSpot. Everybody's using it. Go ahead and try it out. Frontapp.com. It's really, I'm glad to have you on the program because I've been using the product every day for the last couple of weeks, and it really is impressive. I know good software when I see it. It just feels right. Like quick keys and tabs work. It's a lot of detail work that I noticed, like J and K, and just lots of little things that I'm referring to quick keys and just little things that I would expect that a refined product would have, that fit and finish. Like Steve Jobs talked about the back of the fence being painted well, or the inside of the computer case looking good as the outside. I see a lot of that in Frontapp, which is usually one of the things that leads me to invest in the companies when I see craftsmanship like that. When I see somebody who has that detail, it's clear that somebody on your team, probably you and the people you've hired, somebody's really watching the details.
Yeah.
It matters, right?
It matters. It mainly matters because when people use Front, they use it many hours a day. And so you have to have a delightful product.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll be upset.
It just gets annoying. If you're driving a car all day, you're going to notice when something's off.
Exactly.
All right. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.